Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and wow, hello Beth, hello Isabel. Good to see you. This is going to be quite the broadcast. And for those of you who don't know about the broadcast, let me just explain how this works. We're going to spend the first little time just doing some news, views, and updates on people because we're like an extended family and we like to keep in touch. And if you are watching on the replay, you're going to notice on the notes below, it's going to say from 00 to such and such a time. Um, we'll be doing news, views, and updates. And then from that time onwards, it'll say that we're doing the topic. And the topic today is entitlement. That's quite a serious word. Hi there, Jody. It's a serious word, but one thing that we've found out is a lot of people want to work on their emotional abilities this year. And so, what I want to do is to find, hi, Brittany, good to see you. What I want to do is to find some areas around which we might get some help. Or we might get better understanding and therefore help ourselves. So, this is the goal for today. And for those of you who understand what entitlement is, I welcome your input as well. But we all have met entitled people, and I will give you a better understanding about that later. And what I want to do is discuss about the fact that this is what it looks like. Do we do any of this? And which I'm pretty sure we all do. And then if we do, hi Marie, if we do, what do we want to do about it? How do we change that? How do we get more emotionally intelligent and not do that sort of thing? All right. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. In terms of updates, I just want to tell you that Lauren is back in hospital. And although that is sad to hear, I'm so proud of her because, the last time she didn't look after herself and ended up in hospital in a very, very bad way. This time she knew things had started to go wrong and insisted on going back to hospital so she could rest properly and have her legs properly looked after. That is a serious adult bonus point in my view. And so I wanted to give her a really big round of applause from us for grown up behavior. And I guess that some of you understand what I'm talking about. Hi there, Lolo. Good to see you. So, as we go into this, just very quickly, I hope that you all have had a wonderful Christmas and looking forward to New Year. If you have any news that you'd like me to share with the people, please let me know. I did hear from Ozzy, and no, he wasn't anywhere near that erupting volcano that happened in Indonesia, and he's fine. If you have any updates you'd like me to share here, and just let me have them, and I'll talk to them as they go up on the feed. So, news on my side. I have finished now my first week with diabetes. I have changed my diet dramatically. I've gone through the withdrawal. I think I'm sort of coping with that fairly well. And now I'm really proud of myself. I did 7 days of going outside and getting some exercise, which is unheard of for me. And I wanted to let you know, we were talking about it at the lunchtime broadcast, but I wanted to let you know that what I've done to keep myself motivated is I've um, gone into an app that is called My Virtual Mission. And what you do is you decide where it is you'd like to walk. And then all the steps that you do automatically come off your Fitbit or whatever fitness trainer you have, and it plugs it in, and then it physically takes you wherever, so many steps forward on your journey. And for those of you who know Canada pretty well, my goal is to go from White Rock, which is where I live, which is the west coast of Vancouver. I mean, it is part of the west coast. I'm just south of Vancouver, and I want to walk to Calgary. And that's over 650 miles, and it'll take me quite some time, but I am doing that journey. Now, if any of you would like to do something like that as well, please let us know, because what we're doing is we're sharing the app with different people so that they can do their own version. I thought you'd really like to know, that Lauren immediately signed up to me and said, I want to support you. And she's wheeling her way down the island of Tasmania. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought that was really serious. It's called, let me put it up. I had to think, hang on a second. My virtual mission. Yeah. Now, the other possibility is that I believe, and I'll look into it. I believe I can put us all into a group where we can actually discuss it together, what we're doing and everything. But I want to tell you, it's been really fascinating to have Lauren actually wheel her way down the street. You know what I mean? That was just like, that is so cool. It actually has a wheelchair as one of the options there. So I thought that was really, really interesting. In terms of birthdays, I just want to let you know that it's for those of you who go way back. Um, it is Glenn's birthday today. Oh, and Marie, congratulations! You got yourself engaged this week. So that looked so romantic. I'm hoping it was as beautiful as the pictures. There was something about you guys being on the beach and the sunset, and I don't know who took those pictures of you, but they did a good job, I thought. So if any of you have any problems, it was amazing. Yeah. Don't we all love something romantic? Mm. Lolo, thank you for your kind thoughts. Actually, Lolo, you probably wouldn't have been all surprised at me. I sat in the doctor's room and he looked at me and he said, here are your here are your numbers. You've got diabetes. And I just looked at him and I said, self-inflicted. Hi, Tyler. Self-inflicted. And he said, not everybody reacts like that, Sal. And I said, no, but it's true. And so I really want to tell you, I am really, 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 really proud of myself because I don't mean to sound proud, but I am proud. It's the first Christmas in my life that I've lost weight over Christmas. Now, you know how much control that took. And so I normally put on at least 7 pounds. Well, Lolo, that's that's what my doctor said. He said, Sal, that's not the normal reaction people have to hearing they've got something as serious as diabetes. And I said, well, it's true, isn't it? And he said, yeah. But and now you know me as well, Lolo, that now that I know that I've messed up my health that way, I am now on a mission to reverse it. And that's why I'm going to take you guys with me because it's a learning lesson for all of you. This is what we can do without really meaning to. And I'm actually quite surprised, other than the withdrawal headaches I had the first couple of days without too many carbs. I'm now actually doing much better. And by the way, what I've done is I luckily do have a program, and there are plenty of free ones online, but I have a program where I can just put in what I'm eating and it tells me, how many carbs and those sort of things. And I just set a goal for myself that my doctor actually sent me home and said, go home and enjoy Christmas. Be careful, but enjoy Christmas. And the funny thing was that I thought that was really kind of him. In other words, don't worry too much, that you'll get control of this. And I went home, and instead of just carrying on my usual pattern, I changed immediately. Because the sooner I get used to this new lifestyle, it's not a diet. I'm not going to be dieting. I don't do diets. I'm changing my lifestyle. And the sooner I do that, the better. I am hoping that once I've stopped having the odd ginger snap, that I will start dropping a lot of weight. So we'll see how I do. And I thought a lot of you would like to see that. But it's really interesting trying to keep my carbs. My goal every day is to get my carbs down to the very low 40s or preferably under 40. That's percent. So we really did understand, and it was interesting how many people of the viewers have come up to, in one way or another to help me on this one. People with all sorts of information and experiences and so forth. For example, when I got those horrific headaches at the beginning, Jody was very quick to say, more than likely, this is just, you're suffering from withdrawal, so just be careful. And I'm not somebody who takes pills, so to take a pill for me was difficult, but I needed them, believe you me. How was everybody's Christmas? We actually spoke about that um, a little bit. I I'm hoping everybody had a great Christmas, and I'm hoping you all enjoyed the tree because it's coming down. If not tomorrow, it'll be down by next week. So just enjoy the tree while you can. All right. So, any other news that we need to know about? I wondered, Marie, if you had any particular story about what it was like to do that trip, and even though you knew that you were getting engaged. Yeah, you had your is that his it's not his first Christmas, was it, Lola? Hi there, Nana, good to see you. And I'm how many of you are already so far away from Christmas? You've just moved on from Christmas. Your second, that's what I thought. Yeah, I had a feeling it was his second Christmas. But he gets cuter every day, Lola. There's no doubt about it. I know that we are biased, but I really do. Tyler spent time with his nephew and he says he gained the weight that I lost, all right? Um, so Maria is saying about her trip. She said the trip itself was good. The drive down, the whole family was with you. Oh, that's wonderful for the engagement. Jay gave a romantic speech, and I cried because I was so touched. Oh, isn't that beautiful? And Maria's saying that she was so happy and grateful. He chose to incorporate the family. Yes, I agree with you. That was very thoughtful, and I'm certain that that won a lot of bonus points with your family as well. They would have appreciated that. All right. Any other updates from anybody? Your favorite Christmas present? We did talk about this a little bit on Christmas Day. Actually, those of you who missed we did a broadcast on Christmas Day when we discussed, our favorite people, our favorite presents, our favorite whatevers. And I'm going, didn't we already talk about this? And of course, it was the extra broadcast that we did. And I wondered whether it is something that you want to do on New Year as well, or will you all be recovering? Do any of you have any incredibly good plans for New Year? I don't know about you. It's been some time now since my plans for New Year are go to sleep. Not go party, go to sleep. That's my New Year's gift to myself. What's the total for December? I don't have it here. I can look it up. Just hold on. I think about 340,000 is my guess. Because I can't give it to you exactly um, because there are different places where the money is being raised. So let's have a look here. On Facebook, wonder if it gives the total there. Because I know some money is being raised on Facebook. Anyway, I just in round figures, I would say around about. It's going to take me too long to do that, but in round figures, as far as I can remember, it's around 340,000 now. All right, so Beth will be working as usual, and Beth, it is interesting that you mentioned, if I caught it correctly, um, that the trigger for you was overwork. I think it's a very important reminder to you not to do this to yourself, because your coping mechanism is to go back on previous habits. And we all relate to that. It's very, very difficult. You have to change your life to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so Jody says her plans are to watch It's a Wonderful Life, have Chinese food for dinner, and a quiet night. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, Marie, it's funny. I don't I used to love going out and getting all dressed up and going out, but it's been a long time since that was pleasurable for me. So I would rather. So if you guys would like me to do a broadcast, I certainly will put one on. The question is, what would you like me to talk about? Think about that. If you want me to do a broadcast, then let me know what it is you'd like me to talk about. Tonight, we're going to be talking about entitlement. And Jody, I'd like to give you a time stamp here for 16 and a half minutes. And I wondered whether any of you will relate to this. Entitlement is one of those words that a lot of people talk about, but sometimes we're not quite sure what it is. So I'm going to make sure that we understand what it is before I even talk about it, if that's okay. And the first thing I wanted to say is entitlement is really that you think you deserve more than the next person. I think that would be the easiest way to describe it. I'm going to use a couple of 75-cent words here. That's the synonym. In other words, this is a word that means roughly the same. So if you're talking about somebody being entitled, they think they deserve something more than you do. Does that make sense? That is what an entitlement is in terms of the psychology of it. Now, the antonym, that is what is the opposite of it. And the opposite of it is something that we need to work on, because if we have the opposite of it, we obviously are not in being entitled. The opposite of entitled, does anybody want to have a guess at that one? Does anybody know what the opposite of entitlement is? And I thought it a really good discussion to have because no? Okay. So the opposite of it is gratitude. So if you spend your life in gratitude, you are unlikely to have an entitlement problem. And as we look at all these different words during 2019, I'm hoping that you will all not only understand the words better, but also know how to cope with those things better. Now, have any of you ever heard of the really fancy little combination, which is narcissistic entitlement? Anybody ever heard of that one? Now, that's really quite amazing. What that, to really put it in a nutshell, that's when you believe at some level that you're superior to the next person. Maybe because of your education or because of your your way of life or whatever. And because of the fact that you believe that you're superior, I don't know if this makes any sense to you guys, but that you should get special treatment. That for example, if Beth and I are in a lineup, Beth, you've probably seen this in lineups at your store, where one person thinks they should get the attention before the next one. Oh, how about that one? Yeah, they've only got two things, so they should go ahead of the person with 10. They feel entitled because they've only got two things. Hi, Nyasha. So And by the way, narcissistic entitlement people, the rules don't really apply to them. Um, would you like to talk about it, Marie? Marie's saying that she had something happen that she didn't want to talk about because she felt people would think that she's entitled. Well, you know something, Beth, that takes a great level of honesty. Beth's saying she thinks she might be a little bit that way. I think we all have a little bit in us if we're normal. Now, Tyler's saying he doesn't get on very well with those sort of people. Yes, and we can probably think of some quite famous people who have that entitlement complex. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I thought it was something that we could all learn a lot from. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of break it down for you a little bit and give you some examples of it, and then also hopefully some greater learning around it. So, Marie, if you want to just start typing, I will sort of interlace that in with what I'm talking about. I'm just going to do little bit by little bit, Marie, and then I'll check what you've said and try and bring that in as well. All right. So the first thing that I wanted you to know is, we said that we're going to be looking at emotional intelligence. And what is emotional intelligence? I thought you should just start with knowing what that is. Basically, what it's saying is the way that you are self-aware, the way you self-manage, how socially aware you are, and your own relationship management determine your emotional intelligence. In other words, if you're constantly in denial of your flaws and areas that need some attention, all right, you really don't have a lot of emotional intelligence. Because emotionally intelligent people normally don't have a problem talking about their flaws. Hang on, let me just read what Marie has said here. Wow, happy Christmas. All right, so Marie, that is not being entitled. All right, so this is what Marie wrote to me, and I will explain in a minute why I'm telling her, don't even worry, that's not about being entitled. Marie's saying that when she was in Florida getting engaged, they discovered that things were going wrong with her car. It was going to end up being a money pit, and we've probably all been there at some stage in our life. Her parents decided they would buy her a new car. Yes, I agree with you, Beth. That sounds like a gift to me as well. Definitely not an entitlement. I will explain the difference to you in a second. Marie said, I never thought that my parents would buy me a car. I never asked for it, as I bought my first car on my own. I haven't told anybody how I got the new car, nor do my friends know that I have one. All right, so that's embarrassed you a little bit then, Marie. Am I correct? You feel a little bit embarrassed that you've got something that other people don't have. And I'm certain that there are people in this room that can understand and I want to make sure I understand what's happening to you. Would that be a fair description of how you feel emotionally? Yeah, I mean, I'm certain at some level you're overjoyed. But do you feel guilty? Yeah, she says, I've always worked so hard for all the stuff that I've bought. Of course. And that's probably why your parents wanted to do that for you. Right? You are the opposite of entitled. And you deserved that gift. Yes, I agree, Beth. Beth is saying if Marie demanded a car, that would have been entitlement. Kind of like being a bully to get what you want and need in life. Absolutely, Beth. You got it absolutely nailed on the head there. All right, so now Mary is telling us the real truth, which is, I'm very overjoyed and super grateful. Yeah, I think it's okay to let people know you've got a new car. It's also okay to let them know how you got it. All right? And just keep saying, it was the greatest gift that I could have got this Christmas other than getting engaged. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, whatever order that is for you. It's perfectly all right. It doesn't mean you're entitled, as you're going to hear. So just continue to listen and you'll see how it's different. So first of all, would you agree that entitlement also is, you can say that you have an entitlement um, or a legal right? For example, if you get called into the police, you have the legal right to ask for an attorney. Do you understand? That is an entitlement as well. That means that is something that by law, we're allowed to do. And so when you look at it, how many of you believe that Social Security should be an entitlement? Right? And that's something else. A lot of people believe that Social Security should be an entitlement. Yes, well done. Well done, Beth. You got this one absolutely right. Medicaid, Medicare. It's Medicaid, slightly different, right? All those programs are definitely an entitlement as well. All right, so there are different ways of using that word. All right, so one is your legal right, food stamps for those who are needy. But the difference is when you believe that you don't have to work to get um, food stamps. Do you know what I mean? That yeah, listen, I can't afford food, so therefore you have to give them to me. I've never seen that show. Tyler's saying, have you ever watched the show My Sweet 16? Now, those brats are entitled. Yep. So we're going to be talking about that. How many of you have met a child who believes that they are inherently deserving of, for example, the latest iPhone? Any of you been in that situation where, well, all the kids at school have got it, so I should have one too? That's entitled thinking. Now, they're not saying, I really want one. What can I do to earn one? They're saying, just because all the kids at school have got one, I want one too. Yeah, it's interesting. Maria's saying, what about the baby mamas popping out children just so they can get those food checks? Yeah, that definitely is messing with the system. Yeah, I want to tell you something that don't get me wrong. I think that food stamps for those that need them is absolutely okay. It's when you don't want to do anything to help yourself, and that's why I wanted to talk about the difference between that mentality that says I am prepared to work for what I need as long as I'm capable. Now, for example, I don't think that Jody should be getting off her um, hospital bed and trying to work with all the conditions that she has. All right, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is those people that are in that situation are the people the whole system was designed to cover. All right, so that is the other thing. Tyler's saying he will never pay $1,000 for a phone in his life. Well, when I go and buy myself a new phone, it's never the latest. I always buy one level down because they're normally the ones that are on, they're beginning to discount, but they're still pretty good phones. How many of you know anybody in your life who wants things but doesn't believe they should have to work for them? So they think that you should give them stuff rather than they should work for it. Ah, Beth, well done. Well done. Beth's bringing up another example of entitlement. She's saying her sister thinks she deserves her immediate attention whenever she texts her. Jody's got a story about like that as well. Whether you're busy or at work, and then she proceeds to get on a high horse and accuse me of ignoring her. Yeah, entitled would be the word. Yes, Marie's saying she's got a cousin like that. And, Jody was telling, Jody, can I tell you a story? Because I think that's really another great, great entitlement story. Yeah, so you guys are getting the idea of it. That's good. And, just let me know, Jody, if I can tell that story about. Yeah, okay, so Jody was telling me that she's got, a friend, I think it is, or maybe a pretend friend, or maybe it's a relative, she'll let us know, but, who phones her at 2 a.m. in the in the middle of the night, and Jody doesn't pick up the call, and she gets so angry, "Why didn't you pick up, the call? I called you." It's a relative, yeah. "Why didn't you pick up the call? I called you." It's like, and Jody's saying, "I don't pick up the telephone at 2 o'clock in the morning." Well, it could be important, you know? So, but it says that they're awake, therefore everybody else should be awake. Or the people, I had somebody phone me at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning to sell me something. I don't know about you. I was not amused. I said, whatever it was that you were hoping to sell me, there is no chance that I'm going to do it if you call me at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. I mean, really. All right. So you got the idea about that. How about, have you noticed that the people who are entitled very rarely give recognition to anybody else? They are always the people who pretend that they did this all by themselves. Nobody ever helped them. They're also the people who 9 times out of 10 think everything that they say is the most important thing. Have you met people like that? They believe that their opinion is the right one. They have no wish to have a discussion about it, to check it out. Let me just read some comments here, because I'm pretty certain you all got people in your life that fall into this category. Yes, that's right. So Beth saying it's always about I and me, and they never acknowledge others. Yes. Nyasha saying she never thought about that. The purchasing of phones which aren't new on the market as to avoid the increase in prices. Wow, that's a smart and a good idea. You know something, Nyasha? I just buy one. Sometimes if I'm really short on money, I will buy two levels down. But normally, they're still really good phones. They might not have the very latest bells and whistles, but they're still really good phones. I got what have I got here? I actually bought the i7 just after it came, i8 rather, S8, just after it came out because they had such a good price on it. And they had a big promotion on selling them. So I thought I'd be stupid not to get it. So, all right. So Nyasha says her parents are a bit like that. I want to tell you, we've all got people in our lives who know about things like this. How about those people who believe, and this amuses me because you probably understand it, but they believe they deserve more of the oxygen in the room. In other words, when somebody else is talking, they talk over them and shut them up because their opinion is more important than anybody else's. Have you ever met anybody like that? Yeah, Tyler's saying that makes me so mad. I give credit where credit is due. It drives me nuts when people take all the credit for something they had little or nothing to do with. Yeah, I agree with you. I always say to people, when people talk to me about DearMamaSal, I said, you do understand, I'm just the front guy. DearMamaSal is a group of people who get together every week. I don't do this on my own. There's no way I could do it on my own, right? And I think it's really I try never to forget that. What would I do if you guys didn't turn up and have your input? It wouldn't be the same. What would I do if Jody wasn't prepared to be my admin for all this time? Really important. Okay, Beth's saying her sister sucks up my oxygen and she sucks it out of her body. Yeah. We know people like that. I'm exhausted after talking with her. All right. And then how about this one? Because I think this one is dying away, but I certainly grew up in this one. I am a woman, so he should pay for the meal. That was an entitlement I was taught. When I went out to with somebody, it was expected that the guy would pick up the tab. How many of you grew up in that environment? Or um, that men would open doors for women. It was considered good manners, but it was an entitlement in a way. Yep. I want to tell you, Beth, whenever men still open doors for me. I think it has to do. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I actually expect them to. And if I see a man walking towards me and I'm walking, trying to get out of a door, and it's a glass door, I will always smile, because you'll be amazed how often just the fact that I smile gets them to open the door for me. And then I reward good behavior so well. Yes, Tyler's saying it shouldn't be expected, but something that a guy does out of kindness or out of good manners, Ty. You're right, because, and this is not about that I feel entitled. This is just so kind of you, and I want to tell you, whenever, and by the way, I've had some women open a door for me, and I've thanked them equally. Right, Tyler, and that's just why I was saying it. And by the way, how many of you, if you are on public transport, get up and give your seat for somebody else? I'm amazed how few people do that. And I can't remember where I was, but I was traveling on public transport on a ferry or something, and there was a mother with two children. And their seats weren't available. And I got up and I said, "Ma'am, have my seat," because there was a spare seat next to me. And that meant that she'd be able to get the children and herself seated. Yes, Nana, I believe you. Nana's saying I would do that if they needed it more than I do. Yes, absolutely. Nana, knowing you the way that I do, I totally understand that, and I believe you. And the same as I was not surprised to hear that Rick opens the door for you. He is a real gentleman and always will be. And I don't care how society changes. I don't think he's ever going to change from that. It's what he grew up with. It's what his daddy probably taught him. And, he's not going to let go of that. It worked really well for him. So if we know that this is what entitled people do, I'm delighted to hear some of you say, I do that. Right? Not that you're perfect, there are a couple of things in there that you do, because that means that you've got some emotional intelligence. Does that make sense? Because emotionally unintelligent people would pretend that they don't fall into, don't do any of these things. I do, I'm just delighted that some of you say, hang on a second, I do that one occasionally. Because that's what being emotionally intelligent is. Yeah, Tyler's going, I've had my moments. You see, when you are emotionally intelligent, you can look at yourself and have have compassion for yourself, that you're not perfect. So I've got a couple of corrections that you might want to think about. Not that you have to. This is about, do you want to grow this year as a human being? And if so, first of all, remember you are special, but not that special. By the way, when I've been going around and going to places like VidCon and stuff, you can't believe how many very special people I met who felt entitled to a great deal. And I was really, I really was quite horrified. Or the fact that they're famous gives them the right to do illegal things. I watched that at one VidCon, and I just went, wow, if that's what being famous does to them, then you know that they are going to end up in a bad way. Jodie's saying that Lionel, her husband, has been opening the car door for her for 20 odd years. Yeah, I doesn't surprise me one bit. Well, Tyler, yeah, there are quite a few politicians that are pretty entitled, and there are some that are really quite gracious. Yes, Beth. That is true as well, right? People who are entitled and stuck in a preteen mentality, they never grow up, and we're going to be talking about that when I start doing the quotes. So the first thing is remember you are special. We all are, but not that special. You're unique, but not that special. Remember that everyone has an opinion and is entitled to be heard. All right. So just work on that one. If you're out and about or at a function or you're going out on New Year's Eve, some people are really boring. I know that. But you never know when they're going to say something that could change your life dramatically. So work hard this year in not stealing their oxygen. Um, how many of you have noticed that you listen to people only long enough to get an idea of what they're saying, and then you go, yes, 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 but, and you just, interrupt them? I've done it regularly. So just be aware that if you want to get yourself into a more zen place, give the other person a chance to really tell you what they think. And you'll be amazed the difference it makes. The other thing is constantly check on your own entitlement behaviors and wording, right? Do you, when you've finished having a conversation with somebody, or when you come back from a party or whatever it is that you've been, a business meeting or whatever it is, you ask yourself, did I have entitlement issues here, or was I just grateful to have this opportunity? And how many of you know that part of your learning this year might be that to take a moment to truly listen to people generally, to seek to understand people? That's one of the things they talk about, in emotional intelligence, is that you don't just listen, that you genuinely care about what you're hearing. Yes, listening is a gift well learned. I totally agree, but it's more than just listening, right? It's about, do you care about what you're hearing? Now, Beth's saying, oh my God, I do that to my husband, 29 years married. I think I already know what he's going to say. So I tune him out. And he laughs and says, you aren't even listening to me. Well, Beth, you're not the only one. We all fall into that trap. So, but nice that you can see it. Right. And that's why I want to talk about these issues this year, because if we all work together with them, we will all improve them. So, do any of you know what a leading question is? Leading. Hang on, let me write that down so you all know what I'm saying here. I know that my accent confuses people every now and then. It's called a leading question, or sometimes, oops, sorry for the typo, or sometimes an open question. Do you all understand? Can anybody give me an example of one of those questions? The reason I'm asking is because it's really important if you want to listen to people. Yeah, in other words, you don't give people a question, Jody, that calls for yes or no as an answer. Did you have a nice time in Florida, Marie? Right? It calls for a yes or no answer. But rather, what was it in Florida that made it so romantic? Right, Beth. A leading question is a question that leads the other person's conversation, right? It's to engage the other person. So that is a question that seeks for more information. It requires somebody, yeah. But it's up to the person that you're asking to decide what it is that's important. I didn't say to Marie, tell me what was your experience on the beach at 3:30, in the afternoon. It was, what was it about the engagement that was memorable, or that sort of thing. I left it really open as to where her mind went, and where she went with that question was how amazing it was that Jay, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, that Jay actually included her family. It wasn't that he knelt on the beach, to put on the ring. It wasn't that. It was that the family was included. Now, when we listen to that, when we actively listen to what Marie told us, it tells us a lot about Marie. We now know how important family is to Marie. All right, just by the virtue that that's what she came up with as an answer. Beth's saying, two-way conversation versus a one-way. It's all about me, me, me. Have an open question causes the person to be more focused and engaged. Yeah. Taylor's saying, I've always been a good listener, going way back into high school. The girls loved talking to me about stuff because I would always ask questions about what they told me. Yes. And that's called active listening, Ty. They got a word for that. So if somebody tells you, well, I got some great presents for Christmas. The open-ended question was, tell me about the one you liked most, right? Tell me about the one. You're not saying which one, did you like them all or whatever. Tell me about the one you liked most. That's totally open, and it gives the other person room to talk about whatever they want to. How do you feel when somebody comes back to you with a question like that? How do you feel when you're talking to somebody and you say, well, I've just come back from a trip from Florida, and they go, have you ever been in a situation where you've said something like, I've just come back from a trip from Florida, and they go, yeah, really? And they're not interested at all. Have you ever met anybody like that? I have. And it's just like, but I want to tell you. They go, mm-hmm. It's just like, but you see, well, it's a pleasure, Nyasha. You're not the only one that's never heard about it before. That's what I'm doing this year. This year, I want to do a whole lot of let's learn together and make sure that everybody understands. Yes, Beth's saying it makes you feel more approachable, likable and joyful conversation. It puts you into the experience of the other person. I want to tell you that if you watch really good politicians, they not only ask people leading questions, they actually keep the eye contact absolutely solid while they're giving the answer. Now, have you ever had that one happen where somebody asks you a question and immediately looks away and is seeing what else is going on in the room because they really aren't interested in what you have to say? I always remember that one time in my life, I was sitting in a restaurant having breakfast with some business guy that I knew, and we were having breakfast together, and we were deep in conversation, and his eyes suddenly came out on stalks. I mean, that sort of moment, and his eyes came out on stalks, and I'm going, "What's up?" And he's sort of going, "Look, look," And I turn, and I've got a major politician from the British Columbian government standing at the table. And I went, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you standing there." And I got up and gave them a hug, and because that's what I do. And hi, Pat. And I sat down again, and this politician looked at me and asked me an open-ended question. And until I had finished giving the answer, her eye contact didn't shift. Right? She just looked at me the whole time. Absolutely amazing. And in that split second, I felt so what's the word I'm looking for? Not honored, that wasn't the word, but I felt somebody's going to come up with the right word for me, but I just felt she honestly cared. Now, the fact that she and I finished that conversation and she moved on valued, thank you, Jody, and she moved 3 tables down and repeated it with somebody else is irrelevant. But I think the question she asked me had to do with an animal, like, how was my dog? Because she knew I had a dog or whatever. You know what I mean? It was personal, and she kept the eye contact. So practice doing that when you are in conversation with people. If you ask them a question, please, 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 make sure that they feel valued when they give you the answer. All right, so Nyasha's saying anybody who feels that they're too good to listen, that's an entitled person. I don't speak to those individuals at all. Yeah. I actually, you need to, if you can, Nyasha, see it a different way. We can cut those people out of our lives, or we can actually have great empathy for them. So Beth's saying, so I guess that hurts my husband's feelings that I zone him out. Yeah, I would think so. Yep. Learning that I need to listen, even though I think I know exactly what he's going to say. I want to tell you something, Beth. If you actually stopped running around like you do and said, I'm so sorry, Charles, what did you just try and tell me? And literally bring your buzz to a halt. And don't stand there like this going, well, yeah, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Yeah, I know all about this. Yeah, yeah, hurry up, hurry up. Just go, hey, Charles, sorry. What was it you were trying to tell me, honey? And keep eye contact and do not multitask and listen to what he's telling you. I want to tell you, Beth, you want to try that a couple of times. He'll probably fall off his chair. Right? So it is a really important part. So we've got this idea about entitlement. We know what it looks like. We know that we do it. Yeah, Beth's saying, I think I'm always in a hurry. Even when somebody talks to me, it's like, hurry up. I've got stuff to do. You are entitled, Beth. Your time and what you need to do is more important than the other person. That's an entitlement. So just, understand it. 2x4. Jody, I really know how you feel about that relative of yours. So the question is, what do you do if you're with somebody who's acting in an entitled way? Got any ideas? I mean, some of you have been around the block a couple of times. When you meet somebody who has an entitlement attitude, how many of you just walk away from it? Go, I don't want to be talking to this person. They're no interest to me whatsoever. Because they don't care about me whatsoever, so why would I listen to them? And I want you to think about that. If you haven't got the time for other people to give you input, why would they make time for you? So I thought we'd do some quotes around it. All right, Marie's saying, I try and talk to them to an extent to be polite, but when it gets to be too much, I dismiss myself from the conversation. I think we all do that. Beth's saying, my obsession with staying on task is my downfall on multiple levels and relationships. I just doing too much. Wow, Beth. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. I know you can see it, and I know that you can see the damage it's doing. But the question is, are you strong enough as a person now not to have to impress everybody by being better than the next person at everything? And, that is something that you will come to if you haven't come to it already. Um, Jody's saying, I approached it from a place of love and explained that due to my health, it's a little unreasonable that I take a call at 2 a.m. All right. I appreciate the fact that you wanted to call me and talk to me. I'm really sorry that I couldn't take the call, but I'm suffering at the moment. Nyash is saying, for instance, the boss where I worked is more in tune with herself than the workers. That's quite normal. So we're told to clean up an area, but I cannot because I get dizzy. So I told her, thinking that she would understand. Yeah. Pat, maybe a refresh, it might help. It just might be that I don't know how many screens you've got open. Maybe close a couple of screens and refresh. It might help it quite a bit. All right. So what I did is I found some quotes around it, and I thought I would share those because hopefully it will give us some more insight. Abraham Lincoln said, "You have to do your own growing, no matter how tall your grandfather was." Right. Now you imagine being the child of somebody very famous like Abe Lincoln. All right. Do you understand that just because your parent was famous doesn't mean that you're entitled? Hi there, Erin. Or how about this one? Some of you really understand this one now, from the work that we've been doing. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should be doing for themselves. Right? Abe Lincoln said that, Beth. I need you to hear it. I'm going to repeat it for you. Please, please, please hear this. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should be doing for themselves. All right? Beth, you do the work of 6 people and you take away the responsibility and the accountability from everybody around you. You don't trust them to do anything right, and you just do it all for them. They will never learn how to do the right things if you continue to do that. And I'm sure that you have a label that says, but I love them, so that's why I do it for them. And I can do it quicker than they can, and da 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 da. You're not helping them. You're actually taking the air from them. And I assure that they love it because they don't have to think. Yeah, I want to tell you something, Pat. I was quite surprised. Oh, I'm pretty sure it could build resentment, yes. I was quite surprised at Don Sember, for example, when the word that Benji used about me was care. And, I found that really interesting because some of you know that I swat Benji, not literally, but figuratively. I swat him over the head regularly. I don't, if I think he's being and so and so about something, I will tell him straight up. And it's so funny because, the word that he used was how much I care about everything. And, I thought that was really wonderful considering, that I'm always sort of having a little a moment with him. But he's right. It's, if I didn't care for his success, if I didn't care for the success of what he does, I wouldn't bother to do it. I would just let him carry on. So Beth saying, my daughter said that even when she cleans her whole apartment, she gets a little anxiety because she knows that her standards will never match yours, Beth. And it's an awful feeling, emotional. I'm embarrassed that I caused that. Good girl. I want to tell you something. How many people in the room have that problem? Where you don't invite certain people into your house because they will judge you and they will start making it better. They'll do it. Oh, let me tidy up in here. Obviously, you haven't had time. And you've probably just spent the last day tidying up that room, right? Yeah, Beth. And, you can spend the rest of your life changing that behavior. All right, now then, wait a minute. So let me just see what Nyasha's saying here because I got the second part of, I didn't see the first part. For instance, this is the boss. All right, when she gets dizzy. All right, got that. I got the first part. And then Nyasha's saying, then I told her that I'd bring somebody to assist me. Now we're cousins, so I thought she'd go easy on me. I was wrong. Her word to me, Miss Lady, do you normally let people help you? So, to me, it's really important that we understand that when we're constantly doing things for other people, we take away their ability to do it for themselves. There is a reason why they say, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man how to fish, he will eat for a lifetime. There's a reason for that. When you teach people how to look after themselves by letting them make mistakes, by letting them miss an odd payment here or there, they're going to learn the hard way, but they will learn. Yeah, Pat saying, my mom would say, poor pasty, because my house was not as clean as hers. Yeah. you know, and then you want to put up a sign that have you seen the sign I've got in my guest bathroom, Pat? Yeah, no way could you. If she had OCD, there's no way. Let me go and get the sign I've got because there's a reason why I've kept it in my guest bathroom. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I came across this. I was on tour somewhere in British Columbia. It's probably a bit dusty. Anyway, I was on tour somewhere in British Columbia, and I was doing a speech, and they took me to go meet some people. And I went into somebody's office, and this was hanging on the wall. And I took one look at it, and I read it, and I said, "Oh, I need that in my life." And it's probably 30 years ago, and I've still got it. It's fading, but look at this. Apparently, it was actually for doing needlepoint, but how many of you totally get that? I don't want to come up to your level of anything. This is my home. Adjust. um, uh, Erin, if Erin's still here, it was so cute because I really sort of got that feeling, when I visited Erin. It was just such a vibration about it, which was this wasn't your normal home. Why? Erin lives in it. Erin loves pink. Everything in her room was pink and then some. Manon would have been, overjoyed. It was just like, I started to chuckle. And I didn't feel I was being rude. It was just like it just amused me. This was about, this was so much in keeping with this. This may not look like your home, but it's my home and I'm happy in it. Right? Adjust. And she will tell you, as we have discussed a couple of times, the one thing that I felt drawn to do when I met Erin was to actually lie down on the bed so I could talk to her. So, when I got there, I said, I knew that it wasn't easy for her, and I said, "Shifty over a bit. I need to lie down and talk to you." And yet, when you talk to Erin, she will tell you that that was a really meaningful moment for her. Not many people would think to do that. And Brené Brown said, what separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. If you go to somebody's house and constantly criticize, well, they're not much of a housekeeper, or this wasn't much of a meal, they could have done a lot better, da, 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 da. That is entitlement. But if you go to a house and genuinely realize that they probably did the best they could, that you were important. Imagine my horror when I went to a house one day to eat. Yeah, Aaron, it's funny because that to me, that to me had your name on it as well, This is not your idea of home decorating, but it is mine, and I loved you for it. It was so individual in that. Anyway, I went for some people invited me for dinner, and that was a really big deal for them because they thought I was really important, which of course I'm not. I'm just me. But they thought I was really important. So it was really a big thing for them that I accepted the invitation to go to dinner. And to my horror, the first thing that they put in front of me was prawns swimming in garlic. And I felt so badly because what I had forgotten to tell them was that I was allergic to garlic. And they'd gone to all this trouble to cook this incredible meal, and the only thing I could eat was the dessert. Even the vegetables had garlic in it. And they were so upset. And I realized in that moment I had done them a great disfavor not to warn them suitably that I was allergic. Right? And so now when anybody invites me, I go, I just want to tell you that I'm allergic to garlic. It doesn't mean that other people can't eat it. I just can't eat it myself. So I want to tell you just so that whatever you cook, if you're cooking something with garlic, just pull mine out before you throw the garlic in. So I know I've got my little helping right here. Because I don't ever want to do that to another human being again. Mind you, I'm not perfect. It's happened to me more than once. But I try not to do that again. How about this quote? Everyone is worthy of love, except him who thinks he is. Love. Love is a sacrament that should be taken kneeling. In other words, be grateful for everything. And another quote from Abe, Honest Abe, he said, if this country is ever demoralized, it will come from trying to live without work. And I really, I'm amazed, for example, how many people think that YouTubers make a lot of money for doing nothing. And I keep saying to people, you have no idea how many hours it takes to be a YouTuber. And to be a highly successful one, is not easy. It takes a great deal of work, and it's day in, day out. It doesn't let up. It doesn't take vacations. It just is nonstop working. I think one of the first things I noticed about Benji and Judy when I first met Judy, and she was doing the early days of her doing the cast, was she was never without her computer. She'd be sitting talking to you, but she'd have her computer there and she was editing while she was talking to you. Which means that, she was never totally in the conversation. Half her mind was in the computer. But, that's what she does. So to me, it gave me a whole new respect of people who do YouTube, right? They really have to live it. They have to really live it to be able to do it well. So Nyasha's saying, I was surprised to say the least. So far from that day forward, I've stopped talking to her because I realize that she is self-absorbed and she tries to talk to me, but I know my boundaries with her now. Yeah, I think that we all do that, Nyasha, is when we find that people genuinely don't care, we cut them, out of our lives to some degree. So think about this one. When we replace a sense of service and gratitude with a sense of entitlement and expectation, we quickly see the demise of our relationships, our society, and our economy. How many of you know that you've done that to your friends? You've expected them to act in a certain way, or you felt entitled. Well, I phoned them last, so they need to phone me now. Yeah, and we all do it in different ways. Beth saying when she had her twin girls, her mom helped with the babies and always praised me for how clean I kept the apartment. She didn't show much love to me my whole life. I had one positive thing that she liked about me. Right? That was you see, I agree with you, Beth. I think that somewhere in your psyche, you relate being clean with being lovable. Yeah, Beth, and she carries on, right? I held on to that since then. But I've stayed super clean because my mom finally showed me some love. Yeah. I totally get it. But you're a big girl now, Beth. You don't need to do this anymore. I need to tell you, Beth, whether you know it or not, that being perfect is not what makes you lovable. Being super efficient at everything does not make you lovable. Being in a hurry all the time doesn't help your relationship. So, but you get to choose, whether you want to continue. I want to tell you something, Beth. I've said to you many times, there's so many things about the things you tell me that I so relate to. And I remember that I used to work 18 to 20 hours a day to prove that I was capable of doing a certain job. Definitely a minimum of 18 hours a day. And I want to tell you, I really remember those days, Beth. And I can remember somebody saying to me, "Be really careful, Sal." And I said, "Why?" And they said, one day you're going to work yourself into a standstill. And on that day, they won't care about you at all. They'll just fire you or get rid of you or whatever. They won't care that you're sick. You will have worked your heart out to impress them, and they won't care. They'll just replace you. Next. Burn this one out. Next. So, Beth, the reason you hear me say, be careful, get it in writing, don't keep trying to do too much, is that I really fear, it's my stuff, but I really fear that you will run the path that I did. Niesh is saying, Mama Sal, the thing that surprised me is when she called me Miss Lady. We're cousins. She could have called me Miss or Ma'am, but to me, Miss Lady is for strangers, not me. Yeah. To me, Niasha, let me see if I understand this correctly. It was like an insult to you. That was not the sort of relationship that you thought you had. Let me know if I got that one right. It was hurtful to you. It's like people saying to you, "Oh, you're just like family to me," and then they treat you like an outsider. I can always remember saying that to Judy and Benji when I first went down that. Good, Nyasha, I'm glad I understood the feeling. I always remember when I first went down to Benji and Judy, and they said the thing that a lot of people say, which is, make yourself at home. How many of you say that to your guests? And I stopped. As soon as I heard that, I stopped. And I said, what would that look like to you? And the reason I asked the question is because make yourself at home to me is very different from the way some people see it, right? So I needed to find out in their social culture, what does make yourself at home mean? Now, I graduated from being the guest that needed to make herself at home to the fact that you're family, right? Because, that happened quite quickly. And so then I was even down at Don Semba recently, and it was funny because I was going to go and do something, and Judy said to me, let me get some food for you. And I said, excuse me, did I get demoted? And Judy, bless her heart, she takes me so seriously. And she goes, what, Mama Sal? And I said, did I get demoted? Because the last time you talked to me, you told me I was family. And if I'm family, I can just go to the fridge and get what I need. And she looked at me and she said, be family. I said, thank you. And, and I went to the fridge and I grabbed some cheese. Yes, and Nana's saying to me, when I say to a guest, make yourself at home, I mean, don't make me worry about you and what you need. Yes, it means if you want some water, that's where the fridge is. If you need instructions on how to get it to work, let me know. I quite agree. And when I have guests come and visit me, and I say to them, I'd like you to make yourself at home. And that means I don't have to wait on you. There's a fridge. It has food in it and it has milk. I keep the sugar here. This is where things are kept. If you need something and you don't know where it is, just ask. Yes. Beth is saying, and that's a very good point. Beth is saying it's tricky working with family. They have to treat you like another employee. It's a different relationship at work. Well, you know something, Nana? I totally agree with you, right? Judy was just trying to be kind. Let her be kind. And so I have to tell you, Nana, that when I first walked in there, her immediate thing was, Mama Sal, can I get you a coffee? Now, I was more than capable of getting that myself. And I said, I would love that. It would give me a bit of space just to say hello to the children. All right. So what I did was I balanced it out. I would love to say yes to that because it gives me a little bit of time so that I can, get on the floor with the children. And so, but I don't expect her to wait on me hand and foot, Nana. That's the difference of it, right? I'm more than capable of going to the fridge. She is so sweet. That is not something she puts on. It is who she is. I would love to have. No, I love being who I am, but there's a lot you can learn about things from Judy, right? All right. So Beth says, kind of, if you're working with family, don't feel entitled to anything other than being an employee. That's a very good piece of advice. Don't expect to be treated differently from any other employee because that means you feel entitled to better respect. Tyler's saying it can be interesting when your relative's a supervisor or vice versa, but I don't mind it too much. All right, it's a two-way trade. It's difficult for them and it's difficult for you. Some people do it really well. So this is another quote. It says, instead of communicating, I love you, so let me make your life easy for you, I decided that my message needed to be something more along the lines of, I love you, I believe in you, I know what you're capable of, so I'm going to make you work. I would actually change the last of that and say, so I'm going to let you show me how capable you really are. How many of you have watched me do that with people that are victims when they come to DearMamaSal? And little baby steps by baby steps, we teach them how to be an adult and be accountable and how to do things differently. I'm so proud of Nyasha, for example. I just want to let you know that she was telling me she actually did manage to get to cook at home recently. Now, it was unfortunately because her mom was sick, but she did manage to do it. But what I liked about it, Nyasha, and I want to give you, a round of applause on this, is that you actually asked me for tips on how to, keep an area cleaner when you are cooking. Now, that's not an area that I'm really good at, but I'm trying to learn that as well. And what I was saying to Nyasha is, with her limited eyesight, she may want to keep a couple of bowls close to her. So she knows the bowl on the right is where she puts the odds and ends that are for garbage. And if she has recycling of food, that she puts that sort of stuff in a different bowl. And then that means that at the end of her prepping, most of the bits that she would have to clean up are already in a bowl. And when you finish prepping, you just take the bowl and put it in the garbage. So Niesha saying, yeah, it was just the two of them together when she called you Miss Lady. All right, so it hurt you, let it go. You know, that's the trick is, or seek first to understand. Maybe if you get a quiet moment when you're both in a good space, you can say to her, "Hey, Jane, I just wanted to ask you something. You know, last week when we were doing that thing and you called me Miss Lady, was there a reason for that that I didn't understand?" And Beth is saying, I used to work with all three of my sisters. Oh boy, that was difficult. My older sister was a store manager, and the older two were managers. So, and I was just 15. So much pressure to impress them all. I think, you know something, Beth? I think you spent a life trying to impress people. And I think you're pretty impressive just as you are. You could go at half the speed and still be impressive. I am certain of that. It would feel really lazy to you, but it would probably save your health. I want to tell you one of the key things, Beth. You probably don't necessarily want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you just because it's my experience. One of the key things I learned when I gave up smoking was my speed, my natural speed was not the speed I was going at. I've really noticed that. I realized that I smoked to give myself, you know, to keep myself going. And when I realized that the breaks I took to smoke were actually breaks that I needed to rest. And it was strange. That was the way, in some weird way, that was the way I rested. I went and had a cigarette. Yeah, Niesh is saying, I've always been looking for tips on how to cook as a blind individual, but could not have found any. So I'm thankful for that piece of advice. Well, you know, all I did, Niasha, because I'm not that smart, I just went to Google and I asked, you know, I typed in, you know, cooking tips for blind people. Beth saying, I'm exhausted. I don't wish anyone to be like me. It would be punishing somebody. Yeah. And you know, I so agree with you, Beth. I've been there. You know, I don't know your experience, but I know mine. And I am so glad I'm not that person anymore. You know, I'm a very different person in a lot of ways. But life teaches you. And I want to tell you something. I ignored it and I ignored it and I ignored it. And one day life gave me a brick wall and I just collapsed. And I want to tell you, Beth, there's no way I want that for you because I know what that felt like. So James Madison said, I cannot undertake to lay my finger on that article of the Constitution which granted a right to the Congress of expending on objects of benevolence and the money of their constituents. In other words, you know, you do not have the right to spend the people's money just because you feel like it. Who are you saying that to? Manna, is that to everybody? Who is the you there? Is it everybody? Hi, Roseanne. Good to see you. Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that. I thought you were looking particularly good today as well. You still got that fan by your shoulder? Isn't it funny, Roseanne? I actually don't need to see you on video. I've got this picture of you that just is still there after all these years. Yeah, are there any other people that are following the keto diet? So I hear a lot of people say I've noticing that I am doing it a little bit by little. Well, no, keto is more than just low carbs, right? Yeah, I think keto is no carbs, not low carbs. But I could be wrong. I'm not up to it. But I do know. I would love you to send me an update picture, Roseanne, really. And I was just saying, for those people who remember that far back, it's Glenn's birthday today, I believe. Yes, and that's right. They're not high carb recipes, right? They're low carb recipes. Yeah, I think going zero everything is what worries me about doing that, Beth, is I'm sure it works really well, but it's not a lifestyle change. It is a diet. And so, he'll get to the weight that he wants to, and then he'll start eating again, and he'll just balloon back up. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so to me, I mean, everybody does it their own way. But one thing I said is, I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that. I am not going to put myself on a diet that I will get to where I want to go, and at the end of it, I won't be able to keep it up. I want a lifestyle change, and I will do it bit by bit. And that's what I'm doing. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have a ginger snap every now and then or a shortbread cookie at Christmas. I did all of that, and I still lost weight at Christmas. Yeah, Beth, I understand that. He will learn as well. He'll learn that later when he grows up a bit, right? Yeah, I think it's a great idea for any of you who want to look up some of those recipes. I agree with you, Nana. And I should think the combination of that and that fancy little gizmo that you've got, the pressure cooker thing. I bet you've got some great recipes going. How about everybody deserves love, but not oh, sorry. Everybody deserves love, but nobody is entitled to it. I love that. Just because you are my sister doesn't mean that gives you the right to think that I should love you when you act like a bozo. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, everybody wants to get loved. If you want, somebody told me once, I think it was a chiropractor who said, Sal, whatever it is that you want from life, give it to somebody else. If you want to be loved, then love other people. If you want respect, then respect other people. And it was probably one of the greatest pieces of advice that I was given. How about a narcissistic personality disorder is a name for narcissus from the Greek mythology who fell in love with his own reflection. Freud used the term to describe persons who were self-absorbed. Psychoanalysts have focused on the narcissist's need to bolster his or her self-esteem through the grandiose fantasy, exaggerated ambition, exhibitionism, and feelings of entitlement. Boy, that is so true. And I can think of a couple of people that refers to. So Beth is saying here, oh, Nana. So Nana, did that bring up memories of your adoption? If so, that's sad to hear. That certainly wasn't my intent, as I'm sure you know. Yes, quite right, Nana. She used to say to Ali when she was at school, if you want a friend, be a friend. Absolutely. Whatever it is you want from life, give it to life, and don't expect it to come back to you, but give it. So Beth is saying, so my mom didn't have to love me? Should I feel that I was entitled to be loved? I loved her. Now, unfortunately, I think that was something, Beth, that Bill Gates gave a really great speech once. Jody, if you can just make a note, the Bill Gates speech. Beth, and what he did was he gave, at one of the universities, and the number one thing that he said, I believe, was life isn't fair. Just because you love somebody doesn't mean that they have to love you back. Right? Life is not fair. Just because you've got 3 university degrees doesn't mean that you're entitled to earn a whole stack of money if not prepared to do any work. All right. This speech actually is brilliant. And if I can source it out for you, Beth, I will let you have it because it's a really good thing to live by. Nyasha is saying, yeah, I've been realizing that I can still have my regular foods and still lose weight. I don't know how. All right, but I would eat sugar now, followed by a glass of water, and everything still stays okay. One of the things Jody has taught me, if I am eating something that I know to be sweet, immediately I take some string cheese and eat it straight afterwards. I don't know why, but we'll find out whether it works. You're going to know in a few months. Yeah, and the other thing that Nana taught Ali was that bullies are not born bullies, right? Bullies are taught to be bullies, either by role models of their parents or Nana didn't say that. She actually said they weren't born, they were treated badly. But I've also found sometimes, Nana, bullies get that way because of the behavior of their parents. That's another reason why bullies sometimes become bullies. Monkey see, monkey do. It's the same thing as if you've been abused, the chances that you will abuse others are pretty great. How about he never rid himself of the feeling that he'd been denied his rightful place? It kept him from being good natured and made him unwilling to forget grudges. How many of you hang on to grudges a little too long? Yes, Beth, I think you're absolutely right, right? Beth is saying, I don't regret giving love to her. She needed it. She knew I loved her. She just couldn't return it, right? And that was her issue. Absolutely. How many times do you hear me say, Beth, you're only responsible for your behavior, not somebody else's? And if you love somebody, then treat them with love, right? If they don't return it, that's their stuff. It's not yours. It's not on you. Oh, I like this one as well. How about this one? I spend my life constantly calling in imaginary debts that aren't owed to me in order to avoid the real debts I owe to others. And so everybody ends up bankrupt. Yeah, good for you, Jody. Jody's saying, I hold on to grudges too long. It's a work in progress. Absolutely. And that's emotional intelligence, Jody, to be able to see it in yourself and go, but I'm working on it. All right. So Ty got this one nailed. He said, not me. Holding on to a grudge just saps my energy and right out of me. Yeah. So you've learned that lesson. I must admit that it took me a while to learn it. Nyasha's saying, that's me. If somebody wrongs me, I never forget. Yeah, I don't think any of us. I don't think I said you should forget. It's whether you can forgive them and realize that maybe they had a reason for treating you badly. All right. And to me, I no longer care as much about what the other person does. I care about what I do. Right. And this is like, yeah, Beth saying I hold on to grudges, but I turn it around onto myself and self-blame. Yep. This is the only person that a grudge really hurts is you. I think, remember what Michelle Obama said, right? When they go low, we go higher. Yeah, and Nana's saying, I'm still learning that one. I think we all are. I struggle with it every day, Nana, but I am a lot better at it than I was a few years ago. I can tell you that. I now just smile and go, I don't like that behavior, but I don't have to worry about it because I'm not responsible for their behavior. I'm responsible for mine. What am I going to do about it? When I'm sending out Christmas cards, I'm not saying, well, they haven't sent me one in 10 years, so why should I send one? I just send one anyway. Yes, you don't have to forget, Nana says. That's quite right? Just forgive. So it's not your baggage anymore. Yeah, you don't want to hold that around. Hi, Kerry. Good to see you. We're talking about entitlement. Yeah. So I think it's wonderful if you can see that it is wonderful way to live. That, this is like, hey, their behavior is their problem, not mine. I've learned how not to get affected by it. Well, there you go, Nyasha. All right. Nyasha's saying, well, it'll take me a while to forgive, but it'll be a long time before I do. Now, that is the interesting thing. You will know when you have really grown, Nyasha, when you have come from that place you're in to one of adulthood, when you can actually go, you know something? I'm not going to let that upset me anymore. I'm not going to hold it against them. Maybe they were having a bad day or three. I feel sad that they had lived that life, but it's really nothing to do with me. I can still love them. And that's Jody saying, that's one of the greatest lessons I've learned from you, Sal, that I am responsible for my behavior, nobody else's. Learning that concept was a gift. Well, it's my pleasure to pass it on to you. It took me a long time to learn it, Jody. Long time to learn it. How about this one? Major turnoff when somebody's sense of entitlement is greatly disproportionate to their sense of gratitude. How about people who it was quite funny because I can remember having a very serious conversation with a boss who was also supposedly a friend, and he said to me, "You know, I don't think you're treating me with much respect at the moment." And I said, "That would be true." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "You haven't done a great deal for me to feel that at the moment." Now, he didn't like that at all. But you know, it was my truth. The reason I had stopped respecting him is he was acting like a jerk. And the behavior I was watching in him was arrogant and entitled and all sorts of things. And I'm going, you know, I don't have to like that. And you know, just because you've got the power doesn't mean you get to treat people like that. All right. And so Kerry's saying, my sister and dad's mum don't like or love me. I used to care and I worried about it. Now I just don't care. Yeah, because for the longest time, right, Kerry, you kept trying to work out what did you do wrong? Right? You're breathing. The same thing as, you know, remember I was saying the same thing about you and Mike's people. You know, anybody who judges the age gap, that's their business. It's got nothing to do with you. That is their mentality. I want to tell you something, Kerry. You've heard me say it to you a number of times. If you are happy, take the chance. Yeah, age is relevant, yes, but you know, being happy is a rare gift. And if Mike makes you happy, I would be the first one to say to you, be happy. So entitlement was, she knew, a terrible thing. It chained the person to their victimhood. It gobbled up all the air around it until the person lived in a vacuum where nothing good could flourish. So be careful of entitlement if you can. All right, Nyasha is saying, that's what I'm trying to do, to learn to get at being an adult. Could it be that's what my parents were trying to say to me? But how could they expect me to act like one when I wasn't taught to behave like one? Absolutely, Nyasha. So part of the gift that we will try and give you is to give you our our version of how an adult might react to this rather than a child. Read the last one again. You did mean please, right, Beth? Entitlement was, she knew, a terrible thing. It chained the person to their victimhood. It gobbled up all the air around it until the person lived in a vacuum where nothing good could flourish. And that was by Louise Penny in the book Kingdom of the Blind. So to me, we have entitlement. We're human. Yeah, I love, you know, I love reading these quotes because I really do find that it sort of makes you think 2 or 3 times, right? So I'm here to tell you that I have struggled with entitlement a great deal in my life. And I realized that it spoilt a lot of my life in many ways. All right, Kerry's saying, I've got the post-holiday blues tonight. I'm not sure why. I'd like to think I'm strong, but tonight, emotionally, I'm just exhausted. And I'm hoping tomorrow will be more peaceful. Remember, if it's emotional, Kerry, you're doing it to yourself. And so, I find a lot of people, is anybody else feeling that? Jody's saying that she gets that as well. What happens to a lot of people? Hang on a second. Okay, let's try and get this so that people can see what happens. For some of you who really, really enjoy the Christmas period, right? What happens is that your excitement builds and builds and builds, and then it's Christmas. Oops, let me do this in a way you can see. All right, it builds and builds and builds, and then it's Christmas right there. Well, what happens is then you start this journey back down to normal. Now, I just realized that looks a little bit gross. Let me rub that out. So how would you change that, Kerry? All right, if you know that you built yourself up to Christmas, let's put an X there so it doesn't look like what it looked like before. What would change if you notice that you're starting to dip a bit? What would change that? And the way that I do it is, as soon as I get to the day after Christmas, I start looking up here to what do I want to do for the new year, which is why I immediately started working on the mind map that we did at lunchtime. How many of you enjoyed that session? All right. And so that's what I do. As soon as Christmas is over, I start working what I want to do for the next year. I don't want to have that dip. I want to move on. So let me tell you what I learned here. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. If you are emotionally tied to Christmas, right? You love all the decorations, you love preparing for it, da 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 da. As soon as it's finished, does it make sense you're going to have postpartum problems? You know what I mean? It's just, it's like it's over. Now I've got to put all the pretty decorations away. Got nothing to look forward to. I've got all the presents I wanted. Da 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 da. So to me, oh, by the way, Kerry, the other thing is, have a look at how much sugar did you take in? Was the diet stuff? Because how many of you found that as well? That part of the problem is that you're eating the wrong foods, and so your body isn't happy either. I don't think January is dreary at all. It's expensive, but not dreary. So do you understand, though, what I'm trying to make sure you all understand? If you feel that January is a downer, it's because you've got nothing to look forward to in January, right? You're not doing anything. I'm going to have, excuse me a second. I'm going to have a ginger cookie. Okay. Are you ready? That's so good. Now, Beth's saying she took her decorations down on Christmas Day. You want to get on? Move on. What about the rest of the family? Did everybody want the correct decorations gone? What about Charles? Did he want the decorations gone immediately? You see, how do you make those? You go to Google and you type in ginger cookies or ginger snap, and you take the first strip. You take the first recipe that comes up. Oh, it's good. It's really good. Right. He didn't want it. He didn't want them to be taken down. He refused to help you because he didn't want them to disappear. But Beth, you controlled that. Maybe an apology is a good idea. I wonder how many things in your life, Beth, are done on your schedule and on your timing, not anybody else's. You understand what I'm saying? I want to tell you, Nyasha, if you get that recipe and you cook it, it's very easy to cook if you've got the right ingredients. You will not be sorry. I make these about twice a year, and they're soft and they are so tasty. All right, Beth's saying it's almost all on my time. Yeah, I'm sure. That is very controlling. That is entitled. My time is more important than your time. My way is more important than your way. My needs are more important than your needs. Think about it, Beth. I'm hitting you with lots of 2x4s, but gee, get it. That is your problem, Beth, nobody else's. Beth is saying, I literally do all my laundry every day, including folding and putting it away, or I can't relax. That's your problem. Why do you punish everybody else with it? Right? That's so to me, it's like, no wonder you're exhausted. But I know you know. And I want to tell you something, Beth. You are doing great work. I just cannot imagine what it must have been like to pick up a cigarette again. When I read that, my heart bled for you because I want to tell you, I know nothing is going to take control of my life to that extent again. I'm not going to let it happen. That I pick up another cigarette. Whoa. And let cigarettes control my life? I don't think so. I want to tell you, it was probably the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, you're strong and weak at the same time. You're called human, Beth, and it's okay to be human. Really, it's okay. And you know something, Beth? Let me tell you something that I know. When you are good and ready, you will put those cigarettes down because you know you can. You've done it before. And you will carry on with your life. But you won't be doing it when you're pushing yourself so hard you can't think. I'm pretty sure you're going to find out that you started smoking again to get a break. Yeah, Nana, I so agree with you. Right? She said I tried for years to be perfect and it broke me. Perfect was already taken. I found out that excellent is good enough. You don't need to be perfect. And quite honestly, how many of you can say to yourself, being a slob is okay? It's like, it's just like, who's judging you? The person who's judging you is you. Well, yeah, Beth will find that space, Nana. I totally believe in her. I have to say this, that Beth has shown on so many levels that she really is taking all the right steps. And Beth, just so that you know, I tried just about every possible way there was to give up cigarettes. And then one day it worked. So to me, you're going to do it. Your speed is the right speed for you. You need to learn the lessons you need to learn, and know that we're still here with you, and we still love you. All right? And to me, it's important for you to understand that. Yes, and Kerry, how long has it been now? It must be about 4 years for you. So, to me, let me tell you what I think you're entitled to. Yeah, that's what I thought. It must be 4 years because I remember when you quit. So here's what I think, in my view, that you're entitled to. You're entitled to your opinion, and so is everybody else. All right. So what I want you to do is keep adding the bit, right? You're entitled not to like everybody, and so is everybody else. Right? You're entitled to protect yourself and set boundaries, and so is everybody else. You're entitled to have fun your way, and so is everybody else. Does that make sense? When you can give other people the same freedom of individuality that you wish people would give to you, you will have learnt that you are coming from a place of gratitude and of love. When you feel entitled to more than everybody else because you are bigger, better, stronger, more educated, capable of earning more, whatever it is that you think gives you better rights, it cuts you off from the world in a lot of ways. That's been my experience. I grew up in a very entitled environment. As I said, Downton Abbey, for those of you who saw it, was how I grew up. And I had to do a lot of learning to change that. Wow. Beth saying a customer came up to me with a walker and an oxygen tank. She came up to me and said she saw me smoking outside. She offered me a hug and knowledge that she didn't want me to end up like her. Isn't that wonderful? That is love. And Nana's saying, I find we judge ourselves as we judge others. Yes. And that's sad. I don't want that for people. Beth, sometimes less is more. Sometimes doing less will actually give the world more. Pure love from a stranger, right? And the same way, Beth, you probably, be surprised to hear that. I go out of my way to go and talk to smokers these days, standing on a corner by themselves, freezing to death, whatever. And I will just go and stand and talk with them. And they're always so shocked. They go, but you're not a smoker. And I go, no, but I know what it's like to stand on this corner alone, feeling like you're a leper. I know that feeling. I've been there. So I just came to tell you that there is hope when you're ready. And so, Beth, I have absolutely every faith in you that you will do it at your speed. You got a few more demons you're going to get rid of first, Beth. Wow. Nana's saying, I have to wonder how it all happened that you were here and not an aristocrat. You remember that I told you many years ago that I was going to start giving you the story of my life? I've started doing it. I've started drawing my life for you. So I'm on the early years section at the moment. Did I not answer what you wanted, Nana? Give me a chance to answer it, honey. Nyasha, I love being messy, though others don't. My mum tells me since she's sick, I have to keep the place always clean. since others might have to come if she needs help. Yeah, that's true. I'm a great believer when if you are in somebody else's house, you play by their rules, not yours. All right, and Jody's saying, out of love, I want to tell you, Beth, that both my parents passed away from cancer due to smoking. Both at the early ages of 53 and 64. I don't want to see that happen to you. Yeah. And you know something? I know people who've died of cancer who've never smoked. So I think Beth is more likely to die of stress than she is of smoking because that's the related symptom. Well, Nyasha, that is a piece of very fine wisdom. Nyasha is saying, because if when others come to the house, they only see a messy house and not care about the sick individual, then they are not sincere. You are absolutely right, but you understand you're seeing it through different eyes than your mother. Your mother grew up being told that you had to do things to impress other people. All right? So I believe you to be quite right in what you say. But that doesn't mean that you understand your mother's conditioning was different. Wow, Nana's saying, my kids think they own the house and they're coming tomorrow. Not my son. He's not like that. That's so exciting for you, though, Nana, because you love it when the kids come to visit. So, what sort of things do they do when you say that they act like they own the house? And would you want it to be different? And by the way, I will just repeat one more time because it's really important. When I say to people, make yourself at home, I don't mean open up all my drawers, go through them and read every piece of paper that is in that drawer. I had that happen to me once where somebody came to visit and they opened up every single drawer in the house when I was out shopping and read what was in there. I never invited that person back into my life again. It was like, that is not what make yourself at home means, But this person didn't have emotional intelligence. That is a social norm that you should not, right, should not have to explain, right? Yeah, I think that's my problem. I presume that everybody knew that wasn't behavior that one did. How many of you, wouldn't dream of doing that? You wouldn't even dream of opening a closet of somebody else's. Okay, so Beth is saying, seeing messy houses for me does not cause me any anxiety. It's only my own stuff. Because if my own stuff is clean and neat, I am worthy of others to love me. And you know something, Beth? I got to tell you something, honey. Any minute now, you're going to wake up and go, I'm lovable. Got nothing to do with my house. Yeah, Nana. Jody, sorry, yes. Jody's going, once you break my trust, good luck getting it back. I think everybody's entitled to make mistakes, though, Jody. I have to say that. And, I've had people make big mistakes in my life, and I've given them a second chance, sometimes a third. So I'm just more cautious with them. Yeah, it is an invasion of privacy, isn't it? It's just like, I couldn't believe that somebody did that. So I would say let's be a little bit more clear this year. All right. If we say to people, I'd like you to make yourself at home, by the way, that means feel free to help yourself to everything in the fridge except for that box over there, that's special, or if you need towels, this is where you'll find them. If you can't find what you need, ask me. It does not mean please go through all my drawers and read everything. Yes, exactly, Nyasha. That's crossing over a line. Somebody doesn't know the boundaries, right? And that's because they weren't taught boundaries. And you can't help but wonder, Nyasha, how many people cross that person's boundaries as well. That's how I look at it, which is people who don't understand boundaries undoubtedly have had a lot of their own boundaries stomped on, so they don't think they're worthy of it anymore. So entitlement. Hope you learned something. What did you learn today that you didn't know when you came in here? Beth is saying it's funny. I'm more comfortable in other people's houses, including a messy one. I'm actually at ease. I'm free. I cannot worry what somebody thinks of me because it's not my place. Or, it's wonderful you can see that, Beth. You are so concerned about what other people think, and it's related to how tidy you are. I'd be more concerned about what other people think about what a nice person you are and how generous you are, and that it's okay not to be perfect all the time. Can you imagine how many people in the world are suffering from anxiety because they worry about what people think about their house? Or how many of you stopped inviting people to your house because it's easier than cleaning it up? And I think, life as we've known it has changed so much. Society as we know it has changed so much. In when I grew up, we entertained people regularly, so the house always had to be tidy. And now I think people don't entertain a lot anymore. And so things have changed, and that's okay. Yes, narcissistic entitlement. Isn't that a mouthful of letters? Narcissistic entitlement. All right, so everybody, thank you so much for being here. I keep reminding you all that, by the way, if you missed the lunchtime broadcast, it taught how to do mind mapping. And it's really a good way to do anything, any task that you want to do, or any of the goals that you might want to do for 2019, which is why I wanted to teach it. And it was fun to do. We had some fun examples. Manon was there. She's about to go on a trip, and we mind mapped some of the things that she needs. All right, so Beth's saying it's weird. My mom didn't want anyone over for fear of showing her illness. No one liked to come to my house because it's not comfortable, because it's too neat. Well, yeah, think about that, Beth. I'm sure you wanted to have a tidy house so people would love you for it. And what you've done is you've actually made people uncomfortable in that. It's an interesting thing. Sad, but interesting that you can see that. All right, everybody, have a super Saturday wherever you are. Thoughts and prayers for Lauren as she's back in hospital. Happy birthday to Glenn. And Nana, I think you asked, or somebody asked me, have I heard from him? No, I haven't heard from him in probably 2 years or more. No idea. And for those of you who missed it, Ozzy's fine. He's in Indonesia, but he felt the earthquake, but he isn't anywhere near that area. Just so that you all know, so you don't have to worry. I said, do me a favor, tell me which island you're on so we can all know, and he's on Bali. So it's a pleasure, Nyasha. One step at a time, honey. Beth, I need you to forgive yourself, if you can. And I want you to smile and go, every time you take a puff of that cigarette, ask yourself, do I really just need a break? That's why I'm doing this. I'm tired. I need a break, but this is a reason to take a break. And that is what I found out, to my horror, that part of the reason I smoked was because it gave me a reason to stop doing things. Might not be your reason, Beth, but it's worth looking at. All right, everybody, have a super, super day. Enjoy yourselves. I am going to go and get some sleep. I was so busy with those new programs that I learned, and that again was in the lunchtime broadcast. I was so busy with those that I haven't been sleeping a whole lot. So I'm going to catch up on some right now. Uh, so big hugs, and I love you dearly. Have a wonderful New Year. Oh no, I'll see you on Sunday. When's New Year? Wait. Must be Tuesday, right? Because that's when Christmas was. Yeah. So we'll do a broadcast on New Year. Does that 7 o'clock time suit everybody for New Year? Yeah, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. We'll put in another broadcast there. All right, everybody, big hugs. Well done, and remember, watch your entitlement, because if you're pretty sure that we all do it to some degree. All right, big hugs. Bye for now. Have a good life.